Hey, this is Don from Padlock Technologies again with another video. This time we're going to talk about doing user identity on Cisco Secure Platform. Now, the last video I did was on Palo Alto. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put it over here, somewhere up in this corner up here, to point you to the video on how to do this on a Palo Alto firewall. Today we're focusing on Cisco Secure Firewall. Yes, you can do user identity on Cisco Secure Firewall. This is their answer to what Palo does is called user ID. Now, on the FMC or FTD, this is called realms. Now, there's a couple other things that you need to make sure you have in play. Number one, you got to configure the realm. Number two, you can use ICE for the passive identity stuff, or you can use an agent. Which one should you use? Let's just get this out the way right now. If you have ICE, utilize ICE. The agent, I don't really like using the agent, and usually I tell people if you have Cisco Secure Firewall, you might as well get ICE too. They just that ecosystem works together. So like it's like chef kiss work together. So you might as well use ICE for this. Now, I'm not going to show you the ICE part with the passive identity. You want me to show you a video on passive identity and talk about passive identity, put it in the comments, and then I'll make a video about that, because not only can you use passive identity with Cisco Secure Firewall, you can also do it with Secure Network Analytics, aka Stealth Watch. So what we're going to do is go into the lab, and then I'm going to show you how to create the realm. Now, remember what I said, you need to have passive identity in ICE, which I'm doing. I'm going to do passive identity in ICE, and then that's going to give me the user information or user and group information into my firewall rule. It's going to pass it to the firewall so it gets the user to IP mapping. Literally the same thing on Palo Alto. So if anybody's sitting here like, oh, well, can Cisco Secure Firewall do what Palos can do? The answer is yes. Let's get to the lab and check this out. All right, so we're gonna log into, here's the my FMC or SCM if you want to call it, or SMC if you want to call it that. Obviously, I have it hooked into ICE, so I'm logging in with a username and password, not the default admin account. But let's log in here, take a look at this. So everybody's seen this before. Now, when you do the realm and then you do the passive identity, in any of my other videos, you saw a certain box on the screen wasn't there, well, or was missing information. But now, if we look down here, you see my username right here. So this is the NY user. So if I log into the lab here, this is going to be right here. So my NY New York office NY user. I have a site-to-site tunnel going back to the Palo Alto, and that's a route-based site-to-site VPN. Again, this is why everybody should move to route-based style VPNs. They work perfectly with every other every other firewall, right? Because most of the other firewalls are going to be route-based VPNs. Don't use crypto map VPNs on route-based style if the other end is a route-based style concentrator or firewall. So again, as you can see here, this is giving me more information. Before, when I didn't have passive identity and an identity policy, this wasn't even shown up. So let's take a look at how we set this up. First thing we need to do, go to integrations, and then we need to set up the realm. So you go to integration, other integrations. Now I didn't do AMP management. I didn't hook this into Cisco AMP, which again, ecosystem. You have Cisco secure endpoints, goes to the firewall, you have ICE. Now you have the whole concept of network as a sensor going on that you kind of don't get with the other vendors, but I don't want to side quest on that. So you go to realms, you set up your realm here. This allows you to download the group information from ICE, and then you can do realm sequences. Now, the realm sequence is if you have different ADs, different forests, stuff like that, you can do a realm sequence, and then you can get multiple users in different realms or different AD structures into your firewall. Now, once you do that, obviously it will allow you. So if I hit edit here, you can see here all are the groups. The one that we focus on is no social media. You saw that in the Palo Alto was in there. So we're going to use the same structure. You do your directory configurations, which is basically, hey, here's the directory I'm going to do LDAP with. or I'm going to do LDAP F SWIT because I'm using port 636. LDAP, normal LDAP is just 389. You never want to do that, but you need a certificate for this if you're going to do secure LDAP. Then your realm configurations, this is just normal here. You're never really going to do this. This is just auto filling because of Firefox or some nonsense like that. Now, once this is all said and done, make sure you have your PX Grid integration, right? Because you want to have that PX Grid integration. You're already doing realms, you might as well do ICE integration as well, but you need that to get the pick stuff, right? Now, the passive identity agent is when you install the agent. Again, just don't even do it. Just don't even waste your time with the passive identity agent. Again, get ICE if you got a secure firewall, right? Besides just for the secure firewall and the VPN part, you can actually secure your access edge, right? The edge of your where users plug in. You can actually secure that with 802.1x If you want to see, videos on ICE, I got plenty of videos on ICE on this channel. Check it out. So now this is all done, and the ICE part is done. What we will do is we're going to already logged in as the user. So what happens when you log into as the user? The passive identity gets passed on to ICE, right? So you got to create an ID policy first. So when you do your ID policy, now your ID policy doesn't work by itself. You need to attach it to the access control policy. So basically what I did here is we create the ID policy, basically using passive authentication. This is where the passive ID and ICE comes into play. We're going to use this realm of AD, the realm that we just created. And I usually just do any. Nobody really cares. But if you want to really wind it down, you could do inside and destination outside, or you can do inside source zone and then the network you want. You really don't care about the destination so much. And then after you do that, you need to apply this to your access control policy or ACP. Now, I have a base and I have one specific for the HA firewalls in the New York office. I apply it to the base and then I inherit that policy into my NY INET policy. So base policies are stuff that you want to do fundamentally across the board, and then you can restrict, you have like more restrictive stuff into your child policies. But for this is just something simple. This is base policy here. So if I look at my base policy, I attach the identity policy to my base policy, all right? And then the NY firewalls inherit this base policy. Now, as you can see, the main rule up top says no social media, LAN WAN. We're going to do a block with reset. We're going to say, hey, if anybody's in this AD group, no social media, going to any social media apps, they're going to be blocked. Now, I will tell you this, right? And let's go in here and you'll see it get propagated down to my child policy, which is down here. Because if you go to advanced, as you can see, you see the mandatory here. So it copied a bunch of stuff from the base policy. And then I have some more specific stuff for NY, which is, this is that, this is the rule for it. I would never do this in real life, but this is the rule for the site-to-site VPN. And this is for Umbrella when we want to do Umbrella SIG tunnels and then do PBR. But I would do trust at Umbrella because then you have your policies being enforced in Umbrella. But for site-to-site VPN, I would never do just trust traffic between the two, right? But what you would do is go to advanced, and then you see where these little buttons here, inherit from the base policy. So I'm inheriting a lot of stuff from my base policy, including Eve down here. So that's all you really got to do. But again, prerequisite, get passive identity already set up. Once all that is set up, what you can do is if you go to analysis and then users, you will now get user information when people log into the network. So you log into the network, as you can see, I logged in as NY user. And what it will do is it's going to periodically check into the logs. ICE is going to periodically check in the AD in the logins, and then it's going to map the user to an IP address, just like you saw in Palo Alto. Again, all these firewalls are pretty much the same nowadays. It's all about the infrastructure or the ecosystem that you're comfortable with. I'm gonna keep stressing that. So again, if we click on the user, now this is going to drill down more and more and more. But technically what I could do is just go to users, and here we go, more information. Now that user is now mapped to 192.168.210. So if we go and open up, hopefully you guys can see that. But if we go to run, let's just go to CMD. I know I typed C. Let me see if I can expand this just a little bit more so you can see it, because this is just super. It's even smaller. So if we go to IP config, there you go, 192.168.210. Man, I wish this was a lot bigger. There we go. So yeah, so 192.168.210. Okay, so now you can see that user information, the IP information mapped over. So now when I create the policy, it knows, hey, in my AD, so if I go over here to AD, just so you can see, 100%, no social media in my AD account. I got two members in there. I have NY users and another user. The other users for the Palo, NY users for the FTD. Okay. So now, based on all of that, now let me give you a little bit of backstory about this. I have SSL decryption on, and I tried to go to Facebook, and Facebook was working. Facebook uses Quick, right? So this is where Quick decryption needs to come into play, right? So Quick decryption is in my decryption policy, and if I go in here, now this is a beta thing in 7.7. You may not see any other versions, and it could cause some problems. So I don't recommend anybody just turn this on. All right, so here's quick decryption right here. Now the reason I'm turning that on, because without quick decryption, Facebook just works. Even if it's working, even though in the events it's saying block with reset. Now when I go to Twitter, obviously it doesn't work, right? So you will see that live. So now let's go to, I'm not even gonna mess with home yet. Let's go back to here and let's just test this out. So if I go to www.facebook, you see Facebook's just working, right? Now, if I go to the events though, and this is where there's a little bit of breakage in here. And again, this is beta software, so it's probably the beta software causing this. So I go to events, and then let's just look at the web application, and let's just go to Facebook. Look, right here, it says it right here. You know what I'm saying? Like this is where Facebook gets a little wonky when you try to go to Facebook. You see the rule says block or reset, but it didn't block it, right? And this is where I think the beta software of 7.7 is causing the issue, because as you can see, the action is supposed to be block with reset, all right? And you see it in the rule. It mapped my user because I was in no social media, that I was in that AD group, and it's supposed to be blocking this, right? But apparently, based on this buggy software that I'm using, probably if I did 7.4 to start, probably wouldn't do that. So it did the decryption, but it's supposed to do a block with reset. And I noticed that it's only happened on Facebook, right? Because if I go over here now and go to Twitter, twitter.com, block with reset. See, the connection was reset right here. So that shows you that the block with reset works. Now if I just go for you can start doing this, right? Source user, and then I just go NY user, hit apply. We should see some block with resets coming up. Now I should have been a little bit more specific. I am going to do action block with reset, and now we're going to apply it. Now this may take a little long to, yeah, see, so you see all the Twitter, block with reset, Twitter, block with reset, Twitter, X. Now the Facebook one said block with reset, but it didn't block it with reset. So I think there's something wonky going on with the beta version of this code, which is 7.7. that's not properly doing the block or reset on Facebook for some odd reason. Cisco, you might want to take a look at that. But you clearly saw it blocked with Twitter. So I don't know if Facebook got something going on in the background that's still not blocking with reset, even though I'm supposed to. But we know Twitter is working. So that's pretty much user ID. I don't want to say user ID because that's a Palo Alto naming convention, right? That's their specific marketing, right? This is basically user groups are realms with passive identity to block users based on AD groups and not subnets. Again, you should be using this because identity is now the new perimeter, as they always say. You probably heard that a million times, but using your security rules based on identity is that's where you need to go. Because if you don't, you're still doing it the old school style, and your enforcement is only as good as the subnet that it is protecting, right? Like if the rules based on a subnet, if I hop to a different subnet and that allows me to get to where I need to go, pretty much, attackers move lateral and your firewall pretty much doesn't work anymore. You can also do this with SGTs. Again, if you got Cisco Secure Firewall, get ISO, then you can utilize things like TrustSec and SGTs on your firewall, and you don't even have to worry about AD groups at that point. Uh, but I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe. Put comments in for any questions you want. If you want to email me a question, it's going to be a video bumper at the end where you can email your questions. This is Don from Paralock Technologies. Thank you, and have a nice day.